like to call to order the October 19th, 2021 Brooklyn City Board of Education regular meeting. Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Here.
Mr. Neal.
Here.
Mr. Ober.
Here.
Mr. Slattery.
Here.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Here. Stand for the pledge, please. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Okay. In order for the board to fulfill its obligation to complete the planned agenda in an effective and efficient fashion, a maximum of 30 minutes of public participation as it pertains to school-related topics will be permitted at each meeting. Each person wishing to address the board will approach the podium, state his or her name and address. If several people wish to speak, each person will be allotted 3 minutes until the total time of 30 minutes is used. During that period, no person may speak twice until all who desire to speak have had the opportunity to do so. The period of public participation may be extended by a vote of the majority of the board. Do you have anyone wishing to speak tonight? Okay. Now, on to our superintendent's report. Dr. Ted-Colares.
Good evening, Mrs. Barcheck, Board of Education. This evening, I'm going to defer my comments to Mrs. Jones, our Director of Pupil Services. Just a quick couple comments. One of the things that we've found this year as we've transitioned back to 5 days of school in person is that we really have to take care to really look at and take a look at the mental health needs of our students. I'm going to have Mrs. Jones present on some of the things that her and her team are working through this year. So Mrs. Jones, thank you.
Good evening, everybody. So I guess now more than ever we've had to consider this as a need and what to do about it. But why now? Why is this what I would say now is a critical need? So nationally there was a report sent to us recently with some pretty concerning statistics. But students with mental health disabilities are on the uprise. That includes kids with anxiety and depression and other areas. We're required to address their needs through Section 504, which may carry on to an IEP, and provide any accommodations that they may need to help them be successful in the school setting. Why we have to address this, you can see the terrible statistic that suicide is the second leading cause of death in those from 10 to 18. Almost 32% have anxiety disorder, and a very large number have a major depressive episode in the last year. So even more than that have depression, but that many kids, 2.3 million, have had major episodes. So what are we doing to support it? Locally, we're seeing increasing in vaping, acting out behaviors at all ages, and mental health referrals that are coming into our staff way more than in previous years. And then just the struggles kids have had academically from the last 18 months has caused, academic problems that have then started leading to some other mental health concerns. So what are we doing to respond to this need? I want to introduce Hannah Bensaveni. She's new to us this year. She's our coordinator of family outreach and mental health services. And I'm going to let her tell you a little bit about what she does.
Thank you. So I'm Hannah Bensaveni. This is a new position this year, and some of the projects that we've been working on are connecting the families with outside resources. So there was a family wellness survey created and sent to our parents where they can fill out, and the only person that would see the results at first would be me. So it is confidential, and they can state the needs that they're seeing outside of the home or if their kids are needing anything in school as well. We also created counselor referral forms that we added to the website. So staff has access to those, and those go to the grade level counselor. So it's streamlining the process of that as well. And then we also have created re-entry plan meetings for our students. So those are for students that are returning from hospital stays or court-ordered placements. And part of this meeting includes student safety plans. On this team, it would be the building administrator, the school counselor, Ohio Guidestone worker, and myself. And then we also have created exit interviews for students. So those are for students who have been suspended or expelled, and it assesses the risk of harm to themselves or others for the time that they're going to be out of school. So all of these things are kind of just making sure that none of the kids are falling through the cracks and all of their needs are being met outside of school with the families as well as in school.
So we're really finding her to be invaluable to help connect our families to what's available to them in the community and how to connect and keep our kids healthy and give them the resources they need as much as we can. Other things that we've done, this year we've created what we're calling a Wraparound Mental Wellness Committee. Wraparound is a term that is used kind of in the social work field where you're trying to find things to literally wrap around a student or family to support them any way that they can. So we have a lot of outside agencies that we reach out to often to help connect them and give them supports in the home. And that's a monthly meeting. We have the counselors, the therapists, the principals. So everyone attends these meetings, and it's our opportunity to confidentially share what might be going on, because there might be something that an elementary student is going through that might have a sibling at the high school and they may not know about it, for instance. So it gives everyone an opportunity to make sure that no one's falling through the cracks, because one person might be dealing with it, but it could help for more people to know and be aware and say, oh, I can call. And that came up in our last meeting. Somebody was trying to reach out to a family and it wasn't working, so I reached out and was able to help connect. We have therapeutic supports on site. Our school counselors always are available to our students. Ohio Guidestone, we now have 3 workers in the district. They're spread out throughout. They serve any student with Medicaid, but we know that there are plenty of kids who need support that don't have Medicaid. They have private insurance, so I have a private therapist on staff who takes private insurance as well to kind of close that gap. And what we find is the families really like having the opportunity for kids to get support while they're here, because they just don't always have the time or the resources to get them to therapeutic, resources outside of the school day. Another thing that started new this year through Guidestone is that they're using our elementary facility to run once a week an after-school day treatment program for students on Medicaid, but we have grant money that we're going to be providing scholarships to students who don't have Medicaid but would really benefit from the program. So again, closing that gap and making opportunities available for anybody who needs it. Some Tier 1 interventions that we're doing, we're including social emotional counseling lessons. K-3, they use something called Second Step. We are investigating the option of a therapy dog, which I literally took a call before I walked in here from, it's called Sit Means Sit. And so we are in preliminary discussion about possibly bringing 1 or more therapy dogs into the schools. And I'll let Dr. Caleres explain where that money is coming from.
Yeah, so about 2 weeks ago, GPD Foundation, it's associated with GPD Architectural Group. They have a separate foundation group. This year they're focusing on grants for mental and physical wellness. And so got an email from them about two weeks ago, ended up filling out the application. We're going to be able to, so we received a $10,000 grant to cover some wraparound services, which I can let Mrs. Jones talk a little bit more in depth about. The potential of bringing therapy dogs here during the day once we develop that plan, and then additional social emotional staff supports for our staff. So again, we don't want to turn down grant money, but we're very thankful that GPD sponsored us, and will go to good use for sure.
Yeah. And they already approved that if we put it towards the therapy dogs, that they're happy with that.
Is that a place out of Cleveland Heights?
No, it's
The Sit Means Sit.
There is Copley, she said, and Northfield area.
Oh, it's not, okay, it's a different one.
Yeah.
I sent my dog to, moving one with him, to a place like that, and it was very helpful.
This board loves puppies. They love
Well,
puppies.
someone was trying
They come to the board meetings, they could
bring
attend our board
in a
meetings.
puppy.
Yeah, my wife said no. So.
I was like,
No more
do
dogs,
you
she
have
said.
time to do this?
You can always bring it to the board meetings.
That's right.
Well, we always have Wilbur. Another thing we're doing, as I mentioned, the academic concerns and a little bit of backslide that we know we've seen nationally. is that we're using some ESSER funds to provide academic tutors to kids at no cost to parents this year. We've had several teachers agree to provide those services, and we've gotten many calls, many more than typical by this time any other year. So there is a list of the tutors on the website under my Pupil Services tab.
What grades are you doing?
All grades.
All grades?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep, so there are tutors from kindergarten up to 12 on the list. And it lists what level they serve. And then the last thing, as Dr. Claris mentioned, we have some supports going into place. We're using some grant money too to bring in a few different social workers and people in the field to provide some self-care needs and strategies to our teachers so that we're making sure they're taking care of themselves so that they can help take care of the things that they're dealing with the kids. So that first meeting actually is going to be this Thursday morning presentation, and then they're going to be coming around and doing some, after they do a survey and get some information from the teachers, specifically what do you need from us? That she'll be going around and doing some targeted meetings on those topics as well.
And then for ways to seek support, on the Brooklyn website, under Pupil Service Department, when it gets there, let's see. There is a list of resources and different things that the district's offering. So it goes over the guidance topics that the counselors are doing. There's the McKinney-Vento links. There's also mental health and addiction support, as well as the Brooklyn City Schools resource packet for parents. And then we also have on the home page, there is Stay Safe, Speak Up. So this is something that parents or students can fill out anytime. And it's basically where they can report any type of concerns that they're seeing at the school, or if their kid comes home and says something, whether it's violence, fighting, bullying, anything of that sort that may affect the peace of mind of the children. So this is something that can be used 24 hours and is accessible to all parents and all students. And then
that comes across as anonymous.
Yes, unless they choose to put their name,
Correct.
and it's monitored 24/7 by the agency. So if, and this has happened, if there is any report of any kind of potential harm, whether it's self-harm or at the school, they immediately contact us. They have all of our numbers, Dan's number, and we'll reach out immediately any time of day or night until they talk to somebody to tell us what's going on. And that has happened in the past, so we know it works.
And then also on the website, there's how to contact the counselors and the grades and the students that each counselor is seeing, as well as my extension for any other needs. And the counselors can be contacted by calling the school and then setting it up through there.
Any questions?
I have a question for you. The exit surveys or the exit interviews with the kids that are problematic, some violence, are they held on campus?
So I'll jump in if you don't mind, Mr.
Yeah.
So let's say a student is suspended for whatever offense. The principals actually require the kids to sit with a counselor to make sure that they're okay, that it's an emotional incident anyway. We want to make sure that the kids are okay before they're released home. If the counselors do an assessment, and if they are deemed to be deemed not safe, then they won't be released. And typically parents pick up, but sometimes parents will say, let them walk home. Now this is more with the high school kids. With the little ones, our pre-K through 7 through 8, parents typically pick up. But that's just something that we do, or we started doing this year. There have been some incidents in the area where students have went through a similar situation, not in our district, and went home and unfortunately inflicted self-harm on themselves. And so we want to take care of our kids. Even in a disciplined situation, we care for them and we want to make sure they're safe. So that's really the reason for it. And our principals recommended that and came, it's a good practice.
So we do the exit here.
We do it right here, so.
And then they're released to a parent or a guardian.
That's correct. That's correct. Or sometimes, like I said, with the high school kids, sometimes parents will say, let them, they can walk home, they can drive home, those types of things. But we do an assessment in any type of discipline situation, specifically suspensions before they walk out the door.
Thank you.
And the interview also has questions like, are you worried about consequences at home once you're suspended or expelled? And are you worried about academics or missing social aspects? So stuff that the school counselors or therapists can touch on too when they get back.
What is the after-school program you said, and for what grades for Guidestone? What is
So
it?
it's called an after-school day treatment program. It's 2.5 hours, and they're serving right now, I think through 6th grade is the oldest student. I think right now probably 7th is as high as they would go. They're using their current caseloads because they know those kids the best, and those kids have IE or have Medicaid, but they're also in talks with our private therapist to see if there's anyone that she recommends, and then that's where the scholarship will come into play. But it just started October 5th, so we're just getting out of the gate with it. But
And what do they do? Is it just like therapy, or is it?
they run a similar social emotional program that we do called Second Step.
Mhm.
So it's teaching kids how to handle different situations that, cause emotional triggers and how to work through those, especially with peers. And then they do some fun activities too, some bonding and
Mhm.
group activities too.
Anyone else? Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Just a couple announcements to Mrs. Barcheck Board. I want to wish all of our student athletes good luck this week. We have soccer tonight. Tomorrow's volleyball, girls soccer on Thursday. And our boys football team needs a W to kind of sneak into the playoffs, so we're wishing all of them good luck. End of the first quarter is quickly approaching. And so end of the quarter will be November 1st, and on November 2nd, which is Election Day, that will be a staff PD work day for all of us, and so there'll be no students in session. And those are my comments for this evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Now on to Mrs. A's, the treasurer's report.
I have a few things. I have the financial statements for September on here for approval. I also have a tax advance resolution for approval that I'm recommending. Brooklyn receives, school districts receive tax settlements twice a year, once in the spring and once in the fall. And then what this allows us to do, instead of just getting the money twice a year, we advance some of the money earlier. It comes 5 times a year just to keep us with a steady cash balance. So I have that resolution on there. And then I also have the settlement agreement with Lowe's. This is something that we've been working for the board and the Mr. David C. for the tax agreement. And I have that on the board agenda for a resolution. It gives us the compensation payment of about $109,158 to the Board of Education for the back taxes, and then they settle on a tax valuation to move forward. Sorry, and that's all that I have.
Thank you so much. Now on to comments from board members and board committee reports, and we're going to start with Mr. Jim Oberg tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to thank everybody that's attending tonight. I think Paul and Hannah for your presentation is very good. It's funny, the counselors back in the Jurassic age when I was going to school, it was like, you're either gonna go to college, you're gonna work, here's your program for college, here's your program for work, and that's it. But I'm glad to see that it's really expanding and taking on more needed roles as time's gone on. My players report. After the absence of a year, the Business Advisory Council dinner was held last week prior to the regularly scheduled meeting. The dinner provides players to visit with various area businesses in the fields of instruction that the school provides and receives feedback on what's happening in their industries and gives school guidance for curriculum. There were about 340 people in attendance. It was a very good dinner.
And we
Oh,
weren't there.
and we weren't there.
We weren't invited.
We weren't invited, but one board member was there. Oh, Jim, who would
You
that
should
be?
probably do the meeting before the dinner.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know how you pay attention after that.
But we did get pictures of the
I was
beautiful
notified
dinner.
today that we'll have two Brooklyn members on Polaris board next year, so.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, next year is 5 guys and King.
Yeah.
We went through some enrollment statistics for Polaris as well. Career Tech is up to 829 students this year attending from schools. It was up from 771, which was during the construction phase, so it was anticipated that there would be less people attending, but now it's made a pretty good bounce back. There are 577 enrolled this year. I'm sorry, 829. I'm sorry, I'm looking at something else. In all the areas that Polaris has. Brooklyn, I'm always glad to report, has the highest percentage of their juniors and seniors attending. 40% of our juniors and seniors are attending. Strong's only has 14%. And Fairview's making a little bit of a charge. They're up to 32, but we've been as high as 60%. As far as 3 years ago, we had 60% of our juniors and seniors attending. The sophomore recruitment schedule, they've been out to the schools to recruit the sophomores to possibly attend next year. Visitation days are next month, the 15th, 16th, and 17th. The 10th graders can discover state-of-the-art career technical education. Registration night for sophomores is November 18th from 6 to 7:30. They can go in, see programs demonstrated, meet all the instructors. Open house to explore the high school and adult programs is January 13th. You can see the labs. And Career Tech Thursdays, you can make an appointment and just go in and see it every Thursday starting December through March. So contact www.polaris.edu to explore the Career Tech programs. Satellite programming is up from 2,900 last year to 3,200 this year. Those are instructors that come out to the various schools to teach Project Lead the Way, STEM and other programs. I think that's all I had. Adult education is up 37% last year, of course, because of the pandemic. There was not as many people in the building. And despite of all of the fact that the finances were in a state of flux last year, it was good and bad. Last year, there was less programs traveling to contests and things like that, so money was saved on that side. But there was less instruction going on from the adult side, so it was able to balance itself out. So we had our 5-year forecast, and things are looking like everybody else. It starts to go down for everybody, including home districts in 25 and 26, but the finances are looking very good. Let's see. That is all that I wanted to also mention, I mentioned last month as well, crossing guards. It's always, I go down Biddulph Ridge every day to go to work, and I see people making right-hand turns while the crossing guards are standing there. I know Mr. Changary would probably jump in front of a car and stop it himself back in the day. And especially with Halloween coming on, there's gonna be kids running around all over the place. And I'm not saying kids are a little more careless than they used to be, but I think drivers are definitely more careless, whether it's pandemic related or whatever, but just keep your eyes open for anybody crossing anywhere. It doesn't have to be a crosswalk, it doesn't have to be a corner, it could be anywhere. Just please, stay off the phones and watch the traffic, watch the kids. And that's all that I have.
Hey, thank you. Now on to Mr. Rick Singer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. First of all, I want to let you all know that I look forward to attending the Ohio School Board Association Capital Conference, which last year was kind of semi-canceled. They did have some seminars and so forth virtually, but for the most part, it was non-existent in 2020. That's the same thing this year. One of the learning advantages of this conference held in Columbus, Ohio on November 7th through the 9th is that it offers a diverse offering of best practices for being a good board member. The workshops teach me new tools to apply to boardmanship and how to best serve my community. It is here that we learn the various legislative initiatives that can hurt our district educationally and financially to those who help our district and help our superintendent and treasurers so they can employ to make Brooklyn a better school district. So Look forward to going down to Columbus for that, and glad that they are holding the event this year. For those of you who may or may not know, Dr. Ted and his staff, along with our school nurse, Mrs. Barb Manley, is staying on top of the COVID pandemic, monitoring positive cases when they do pop up, ensuring that there's very little contact and risk for infection for those identified. This allows our students to physically attend classes and extracurricular activities that are deemed safe and free from any potential infection. So thank you, Dr. Ted.
Yeah,
and your
Mr.
team.
Singh, I passed most of that. I mean, that's really Miss Manley, Mrs. Cutright, and Mrs. Beck. They do an amazing job. I don't do anything. So. They really do an amazing job. I appreciate that, but they're really doing all the heavy lifting on everything. They really are.
Good.
And our parents are doing an amazing job communicating, and I think that has allowed us to maintain where we're at right now. Knock on wood.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank Mrs. Manley for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Please. Happy to learn from our esteemed treasurer, Mrs. A, that you're feeling better, and also that we're receiving additional tax revenue from Lowe's in the amount of $109,156. Good to know as we find more ways to improve our buildings and grounds, in spite of not having a permanent improvement fund levy passed in recent years. So I think the reason why Mrs. A is here is so that Dr. Ted and the rest of us don't spend all that money before she got back.
That is a fact, actually.
On a sadder note, my condolences to Mr. Mark Tansky and his family for the loss of his wife Lori, who suffered through her illness for a long time. My prayers go out to you, Mr. Tansky, and your loved ones, and may she rest in peace with our Lord, our Savior, for eternity. Lastly, I would like to thank Ms. Paula Jones and Hannah, excuse me if I ruined your name here, but Vince Saveni?
That's a many.
Vince Saveni, okay, for your mental health presentation. It's nice that we're addressing the mental health issues of our students. Any questions that you may have of me can be addressed by calling me at 216-978-1931. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Singer. Now on to Mr. Rocky Neal.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, good luck to all the fall sports teams. There's a good chance we're in the playoffs, a few different athletic teams, so that's a nice thing. Again, condolences to the Tansky family, very sad. I know the father-in-laws too, so it's pretty sad, so it's not fair, so deep condolences there. One thing on one of my committees, the legislative committee, is the big thing for me is financial literacy will be on the curriculum, for next year. So we will be earning credits for financial literacy for kids, starting in the 9th grade, half a credit, there'll be all kinds of stuff here. So I'm looking forward to that, and being, not being part of it, but if I could help in any way, that'd be great. I just think it's such a thing that is needed with kids.
Yeah,
So
this is one of the things with Senate Bill 1. They also passed part of the flexibility on teacher substitutes, but the financial literacy requirement will be a standalone graduation requirement
correct.
for next year, entering next year's freshman class. So Mrs. Kalish and her team are gonna work on with Mr. Hare what that looks like when kids are taking it, but that will start with a freestanding class with next year's freshmen.
Yeah, I think it's a thing that's well needed. And that is all I have, Madam President.
Thank you. Now on to Mr. Rob Slattery.
Thank you. As far as facilities committee, a whole group of us met up at the football stadium yesterday to go over the concession stand needs. There was representation from the boosters, from the board, Mrs. Neal was there, Mr. Becker, GPD, and Polaris. That's the project where Polaris is gonna come in and do all of the labor. And I think it's gonna be a great project. I think it's gonna come in way cheaper than if we were to go through a general contractor.
They're excited about it.
It's a win-win. I
They're
mean,
excited.
you know, we're all on board, the boosters are on board, we're all working in the same direction, so I couldn't be more excited about that. So that there'll be more updates on that coming hopefully soon. You know,
Yeah, we
get
should have,
things
so,
rolling.
so part of it, you know.
No,
Part of this
absolutely.
is, so, Polaris, absolutely, they're excited about it, Mr. Busser and Mr. Evans over at Polaris. Part of what GPD is gonna do for us is they're gonna actually, they're not gonna manage the project, but Polaris needs somebody to design the project for them from that specific. And they'll also, GPD will also be helping us with the permitting, through the city. Beyond that, we're gonna save probably 40% of the cost of the project, with Polaris doing the labor, and, you know, and thank you to the Booster Club, for bringing this to our attention and working through it and patience on this, and we're looking forward to it. So you'll see a proposal at some point in the next month, for GPT to design the project. We're just gonna need that from an official standpoint, and we'll go from there.
Is Mr. Hennings involved?
We hope.
As little as possible. No, he was part of the representation. It's nice, they've wanted this for a long time, and it kind of just kept getting kicked down the road, and now we're all working in the same direction, we all want it, and it's gonna come to, you know, the vision's actually gonna materialize in front of us, so we're happy about that. As far as the rec board, we had a meeting last night. Mr. Abruzzi reports good things. The Mini Canes soccer program concluded just this past week. He said the numbers were up, things went well. They've got some very energized coaches in that program, so it turned out very well. The youth basketball registration was supposed to end on Friday, but they're gonna kind of let it stay open-ended and have some things trickle in. They don't want to turn any of the kids away. The teams, they have, for 3 to 5, they have 2 teams for boys, 3 to 4, 1 team for girls, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. They're hoping to fill out a 3rd team for the boys, and they have 1 team for the 5-6 for the girls. It's more teams than they've ever had, so that's good. Hopefully we get enough to have 2 teams for the 5-6 girls.
Is that by age, excuse me? Is that age?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. The rink facility, the new parking lot, I don't know if anybody's been up there, new parking lot's in, complete and open. He did laughingly say that he got some complaints from a couple of senior citizens, because I didn't realize they had 14 handicap parking spots in front of the rec center, and they lost a couple of them. But all the ones they have now, it's actually a shorter distance the way it's laid out. And he explained it to everybody, so now that everybody's happy again. So, you know, that emergency was diverted. Marquardt Park, they should have the new restrooms in by early 2022. They're gonna be putting a new pathway in through Memorial, and they're supposed to be putting a bunch of lights and cameras up in Marquardt Park. Kind of concerned, I guess, every time they open the bathrooms down at Memorial Park, somebody vandalizes them. So I think that they're trying to make it as bright as possible in cameras so that doesn't happen. And lastly, they have up at Safety Town, the old tennis courts, they're having a Halloween event for the kids. As of last night, they just had just over 90 kids signed up. There's 15 sponsors, but they'll take donations. They have tables set up, and it's kind of like a trunk or treat thing through Safety Town. So it should be kind of a cool thing for the kids. So if you want to get involved, reach out to the rec center, and then
When is it?
that is October 21st, but I know that they'll take people. And lastly, they said the pool is close to being back to regular hours, but they still have struggles with staffing with lifeguards. So if you know a lifeguard looking for a job, send them up to see Commissioner Abruzzi. He'd be more than happy to interview. That's all I have.
Thank you, Larry. I would also like to offer my condolence to the Tansky family. You know, the Tansky family is in our thoughts and in our prayers. Thank you, Paula and Hannah, for your presentation. I think mental health has always been a very important thing for our students, but I know actually with my job and seeing, it seems like after COVID and the year off that the kids have, that it seems to be even more so needed now than ever before. They seem to have a harder time transitioning back into the building and the full swing of everyday classroom. So I think it's very important, and I think it's something that's definitely needed. Thank you so much. I would also like to wish good luck to our fall athletes. So now we have the girls volleyball, boys.
Girls volleyball, so boys soccer tonight. volleyball tomorrow at Northwestern, which is in West Salem. And then Thursday, home girls soccer at 6, 7, 6? It's at 6.
Are they home tonight for the playoff game?
They're away at the Cog Heights.
Cog Heights.
Yes.
Cog Heights, huh? Huh. And, so I hope they beat Cog Heights, but hey, you know. And then I would also, like to wish Rob a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Rob, where everybody wants to spend their birthday at the school board meeting.
I've been worse places.
Oh, Jesus, take the wheel.
Could have been city council.
If anyone would like to speak to me, I can always be reached at 216-406-4304. And now for the reading of tonight's approval of minutes and financial statements. Tonight's reader is Mr. Jim Ober.
Okay, resolved the minutes of the Board of Education meeting be adopted and all action taken by the Board of Education at said meeting is hereby reaffirmed and approved.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter into an agreement with Wraparound Experts LLC for professional development for the 2021-2022 school year, services to be paid for through.
You missed, yeah. You missed
Bottom of the page.
3.2.
Oh, okay.
My financial
Financial
statements.
Yeah, her financial
It
statement.
wasn't on purpose. So, okay, all right. Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the financial statements of receipts and expenditures for the month of September, including all purchase orders paid and all then and now statements for the month as submitted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the
We're just
roll?
not used to
Yes.
doing those.
Mrs. A, can you
That's
call
why.
the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
You can say anything.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes, try to make that as quick as possible before someone can say anything.
Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby authorizes the superintendent to enter an agreement with Wraparound Experts LLC for professional development for the 2021-2022 school year, services to be paid for through the district grant funds.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education in accordance with revised code chapter 3327 and the procedures set forth by the Ohio Department of Education, declare transportation impractical for certain identified students.
Because we have Brooklyn students who attend private schools outside of the Brooklyn community, we are required by Ohio law to transport all Brooklyn students. Because, so in lieu of actually transporting the students to these schools, we deem it impractical. And so what'll happen is these families will receive a stipend from us at the end of the school year. Approximately, now last year it was $250 per student. They've changed that. I anticipate that going up a little bit, but it'll be somewhere between $250 to $500 per student on this. And you may see, so what has happened is we notified the families. They're required to send us back information regarding their enrollment in these school districts. You may see this motion a couple other times because as they come in, we may approve them, yeah. So we wanted to get this on board with the families we have now. I think right now we're probably somewhere in the 20 range off the, I don't have the attachment in front of me, but it'll trickle in as we go through the year.
Is it calculated, say if there's twins that are juniors that go to Holy Name, or
Per
it's
student.
still
It's per student.
no matter, okay.
No matter what, yep, per student, yep, per student.
So are you asking like if it's calculated, like if we had like 10 going to Holy Name, would we bus them? Or would, you know, is it
So that's
ever?
the,
like-
so we deem it impractical to transport them because our cost of transporting
Yeah,
would exceed what we would do. So we have the option to deem it for private and community schools to say we're not transporting, but because we're not transporting, we owe these families a stipend to offset their cost of transporting their students throughout the year. But it's per student so if there's twins in a household,
I was just thinking, maybe
No,
they're
yeah.
going to the same place.
there's no family discount.
We get a little knocked off the top.
Yeah, there's no family discount, right.
And so, and that's done on, we don't do it with anybody, really, we consider it impractical for all, is what I'm trying
That
to
is
say,
a-
yeah.
that
like,
is a correct
We're not
statement.
going anywhere, we're not going to like
We're-
certain schools because there's
That
more
is
kids.
cor-
So
we-
we find it impractical for anyone who doesn't go to our school.
That is a
Right.
correct statement.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, just wanna make that clear. Okay. Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the second reading and adoption of the following board policies as noted.
You missed one, you missed another one. 4.3, it started at the bottom of that page. and then-
Let's go up, Polaris.
Polaris, I know, that Polaris meal really must have. Yeah, you know, the,
4-3.
Just stop numbering.
About
Right.
the indoor, recognized indoor track and field.
No, I did see that.
4-3.
Right there, very bottom, the very, it's just one word and then it goes on to the next one. I think it's right here.
Oh,
Yeah,
I apologize. Off my
we
game
purposely
tonight.
did that, he went to the dinner, so we
Off
must
my
have all
game.
his papers.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the motion to recognize indoor track and field as a sport for the 2021-2022 school year for the purpose of allowing a student athlete to practice and participate with another school district during the winter 2021-2022 athletic season.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Yes.
Second.
Questions, comments?
So this is the same resolution we did last year. We have a student that participates in the indoor track, or practices with another school district. For us, for her to practice, or for her to be recognized as a Brooklyn City School athlete, we needed to pass this resolution. Minimal cost to us, but it allows her to compete as a Brooklyn student in the indoor championships in the winter. So it's important that we do this for her.
But we do have a cost for it, there is a cost to us for it,
Minimal, like entry fees and things like that, yeah, very minimal cost.
okay?
And do we have a contract with the school district that you'll be working on?
We do not, we do not.
Which, do we know the school district she'll be with?
We do,
Okay,
we do. Same one she was with last year.
okay. All right, anyone else? Ms. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
4.4, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
I don't know, I'm confused.
Thought I'd check. Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the second reading and adoption of the following board policies as noted.
Have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Moving on to number 5. Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following coaching supplemental resignation effective at the conclusion of the fall sports season. Katie Demian, fall cheerleading coach.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Questions, comments?
Just want to thank Katie for all the work she's been with our students in school. She's an alumni, so I just want to thank her for all of her work with our kids.
Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following persons for the 2021-2022 supplemental assignments with the provision that such individuals comply with all Ohio School Athletic Association rules and regulations and State Department of Education regulations pertaining to proper certification and/or first aid training and fulfills the requirements of the job description attached to their supplemental contracts as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Just one quick piece here. You'll see with Nicola Kunith, down towards the bottom of the list, we're amending that resolution. She was originally approved as 0.5 FTE. She is being reduced to 0.25, which allows us to, you'll see Mrs. Neal and Mrs. Koziel will be filling in those spots for the winter. And then we will have one more supplemental to fill, I will probably ask the board to look at that on November 2nd. we had a late resignation, or a person said he couldn't do seventh grade boys basketball, so Mr. Becker's working on that still.
Mr. Holkel, what sport is he? Because it says assistant varsity coach.
It is boys basketball.
Okay, basketball. So we'll put that in.
I will add
Yeah.
to that, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal,
I'm gonna abstain.
Mr. Ober, sorry,
That's okay.
Mr. Slattery,
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following classified resignations. Beverly Kren, playground monitor, effective October 1st, 2021. Kishali's Ortiz, custodial cleaner, effective October 22nd, 2021.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Questions, comments?
Just want to thank them for all their work with our students and staff.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the following certified personnel for the 2021-2022 school year as home instruction tutors as needed at the hourly rate of $25.25 per hour through ESSER 2/3 grant funds. Emily McQuiston, Zachary Vondero, Stacy Denunzio, and Emily Banish.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a second? Questions, comments?
I believe it's $25.28.
Instead of 28? Okay, instead of 25, okay.
What was that rate again?
$25,
$25.28.
$25.28.
I'll change that in the agenda.
See, she's watching all the pennies.
Yeah, we should let those go up.
I know. Any other questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer,
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the employment of Kelsey Falk as classroom assistant substitute retroactive from October 11th, 2021 for the 2021-2022 school year, contingent on satisfactory completion of all credentials and background checks.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a second. Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved, the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves employment of the following certified personnel as a daily at-will building substitute as needed, contingent on satisfactory completion of all credentials and background checks for the 2021-2022 school year. Kelsey Falk, at-will daily building substitute as needed, $90 per day, effective October 20th, 21, for the school year 2021-2022.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Have a second? Questions, comments?
Question.
Go.
Does the school board pay our substitutes directly or through a service?
Well, both. So we have Rachel Wixie, who we have a group of subs that works for them, but then we've been finding difficulty. Rachel Wixie's been finding difficulty in getting a sub, so we've been recruiting our own, and we've been going through the district with that. Yeah.
Her name is misspelled and one of either this,
What is the criteria to be a substitute, Dr. Ted?
Well, right now with Senate Bill 1 just passed, they've reduced that requirement for the school district. So previous to Senate Bill 1, you had to have a bachelor's degree. You had to go through the credentialing, go through Ohio Department of Education, obtain a substitute license. Senate Bill 1 has allowed us more flexibility in hiring substitutes because there are no subs. So when Kelsey is done subbing as a classroom assistant, we're hoping that she fills in as a building sub for us to help alleviate some of that pressure on our day-to-day operations.
so what's the changes? Or do they still need a bachelor's degree? Do they still need to do credentials with Senate Bill 1?
We can define that.
Oh, so it doesn't, there's not,
That is a correct statement.
So they're letting us do the same thing that private schools do.
That's correct. Now, they'll still have to go through the credentialing through the state. They'll still have to have a background check, but there's no specific education requirement for them to be substitutes.
okay. Anyone else? Ms. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Have fun with this one, Jim.
No, I got it.
Go to Polaris dinner again, buddy.
No, we're just doing, I was informed that I could just do the first paragraph and then the rest is as noted.
I think we should make them break it all.
That's what you want.
No, go ahead.
Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education approve a resolution requesting the county fiscal officer to pay to the district certain money in the county treasury to the account of the district. And the rest of it as noted.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Questions, comments?
Any explanation, Mrs. A? Brief explanation?
This is the tax advance, so instead of just getting it in the spring and in August, the two lump sums, we are asking, and it's very common, we ask every year to advance the money, so we get it 5 times a year. We advance it from the settlement that is either coming in spring or fall, whichever one is coming up, just to get some of that money so we can have a steady cash balance in there and make sure we have payroll to pay and everything to pay.
Thank you. Anyone else? Ms. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
Resolved that the Brooklyn City School District Board of Education hereby approves the attached tax valuation settlement involving property located at 4900 North Cliff Avenue, Brooklyn, Ohio, on file in the Treasurer's Office.
Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Questions, comments? Mrs. A, can you?
Mr. Singer.
There you go. This is for the Lowe's, correct?
Yeah, this is,
Yes.
I said, do you have any, like, can you give a brief little?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
This is for the Lowe's that they've been doing the tax valuation, I believe it was since 2018, maybe even further, trying to negotiate and come to a compromise with their tax evaluation. They finally did. So instead of us either losing money or going down, we are getting some of the back taxes paid for, and that's the $109,000 that we were receiving for the back taxes. And then moving forward, they settled on a tax valuation price. So we won't be losing any money that they were trying to negotiate in the further to lower their valuation. They're gonna keep, I forgot, I apologize, I don't remember what they settled for the valuation. I think it's 9.5 million, but going forward, we'll be receiving all the taxes owed to us.
We need to thank Mr. David C. for helping us negotiate that settlement as well.
Yes, he's worked really hard for all of our tax complaints to work on behalf of the school board to get what he feels that we deserve.
It's $9,552,800.
Anyone else have any questions, comments? Ms. A, can
How much is that Texas Roadhouse worth? That place is always packed.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes. Do we have any correspondence related to action information? None at this time. Do we have any other business? Let's speak at once. Okay, announcement of the next regular meeting of the Brooklyn Board of Education is on Tuesday, November 2nd, 2021, at Polaris Career Center, Board Conference Room, 7285 Old Oak Boulevard, Middleburg Heights, Ohio, at 4:30 p.m. Can I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Mrs. A, can you call the roll?
Mr. Singer.
Yes.
Mr. Neal.
Yes.
Mr. Ober.
Yes.
Mr. Slattery.
Yes.
Mrs. Barcheck.
Yes.
There were reminders that we're at Polaris, right?
Yes, I'll remind you all. Like I send you all your little texts.
I'll bring the Cheez-Its.
Yeah.
Put a sign out in the parking lot, so
Yeah.
I pull in, I'm like, run.
At 4:30, I will send you guys multiple